Hey, Bubba here. We are in the big city of Crockett, Texas with my friend Beau. Now, we are at the Davy Crockett Grill in Crockett, Texas. If you've not been here, you're missing out. These little pigskins right here, homemade right here. They don't buy them in a bag and dump them in the little container. They are still warm. Afterwards, we're going to eat them with some of the good old homemade jalapeno ranch, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Beau, it is so good to see you. I appreciate you doing this, man.
Well, it's good to have you here, brother.
Hey, I tell you, Beau and I, we go back several years. We have vacationed together. We have done church camps. We've done mission work. And before we get started, I want to make something really clear. You know, Make It Happen missions uh, actually started probably 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little longer.
15, 16 years ago. That's probably right.
And we just started at a church that we all used to attend together. That's how we got to know one another. And every time we would have a project or a plan, and we kind of draw it out, and we get through, and the first thing Beau would say is,
Make it happen.
Make it happen. And so it just kind of stuck. And hey, that has continued on. In fact, I got Beau this is one of our new field shirts. You too can have one of these by going on our website and hitting the volunteer button, signing up, and when you get out on one of our MSOs, mission service opportunities, you'll be getting it. So I know Beau,
Awesome.
he does a lot of
Thank you, Bubba.
no, thank you, Beau. Beau, I tell you, I have a huge amount of respect and honor for this guy. You see, he's got his apron on. He works. He serves people. His cafe here. They do a lot of work in the community. Uh, he just has a heart to serve, and he loves the Lord, man.
I love the Lord.
Love the Lord. So,
Yeah.
but knowing your testimony, that wasn't always the case.
No,
The
not
way you
always the
grew up.
case, Bubba. Kind of tough growing up. Poor little kid. As I grew up, then found the wrong directions faster than I found the right direction, and then the Lord got a hold of me. I was 26 years old before I even knew the Lord's name or knew that He knew my name the whole time. Big changes came at 26 years old.
Yeah.
My life got flipped upside down. That's
In a good
actually,
way.
oh, absolutely,
Because you had flipped it
100%.
kind of the other way.
I went, yeah.
A time or
I
two.
needed a good flip, like a pancake. Just flip me over.
I
I was
hear
done with the other side of the
you. I hear
world.
you.
So, yeah, they flipped me right over, and I ain't looked back. That's kind of where me and you
Yep.
actually
Met.
hit off and met. Right.
At church. At
Yeah.
church that I've been
Second day
attending.
I ever come in the building, and you was one of the first people to ever come and say, "Hey, I'm proud of you. You're gonna be a good young man, and this life is for you." So, uh, thank you for that, Bubba.
You're very welcome. And I
I
tell
mean
you,
it.
man, the respect I have for this guy. When I met him, and he's this kind of guy, you either go 100% or you don't go.
Yeah, that's me. Bubba come to me one Wednesday night, and we was running a huge youth uh, in those days, and I think he needed to take like 58 or 59 kids home on a 15 passenger
Oh,
bus. So
we broke some world records on
man, did
capacity a
we?
couple
And
times.
and
Safely,
just
of course.
yeah, and with our ministry, you just gotta make it happen in some form or fashion. No is not the answer in ministry, and
Wow.
so he comes to me and he said, "All right, I really need you to pray. I need you to go home and pray about these things, and I need help with taking all these kids home." So I'm like, "Bubba, give me the keys, and we'll
Yeah.
drive them home tonight." So uh, he actually opened the doors for my ministry and the youth right then by just giving me a set of keys. Some days, your greatest gift is just being available.
Yep.
It's not what you do; it's just make it happen. There it is once again.
That's it.
Make it happen, and that's what we did then.
That's one of the things, Beau, as I got to know you and you began to open up and share your testimony, which I wish we had enough time to do it because maybe we can hit parts of it. One of the things you said to me that really stuck in my mind was the whole time that you were out there doing your own thing, you really didn't know much about the Lord. The Lord was protecting you.
Absolutely.
And you know, there might be friends of ours out there that they might be sitting there and just maybe by accident watching this and going, "What do you mean by that?"
Uh, well, I got just the ugly truth on that specifically. I was involved in a cartel real young, and that's kind of where my testimony comes from. But even in those situations, the Lord always had a gentle whisper over my life that always showed up exactly when I needed it to. I couldn't specifically say that was God in my life at those times because I didn't know God in that form. But as I come to fall in love with the Lord, I knew every time that I looked back and questions my life or questions the outcome that were possible, then all I can say is God had his hand on every one of my wrong turns, every one of my wrong decisions, and it ultimately led me to falling in love with the Lord. So, um, unquestionably, the greatest gift I could ever have received is Jesus Christ Himself, Bubba.
You know, and I know that you were mixed up in some things, and and the ugly truth. I remember after he got saved at church, the pastor got him up at the front, and I mean, Lord grabbed this young man and just hugged him, and he said, "You know, and uh, this is the greatest high I have ever experienced, is knowing
Absolutely,
the love of the Lord."
absolutely,
And everybody kind of laughed, but that is so true. I
it
mean,
is, Bubba.
you've experienced the worldly highs and the with the money and the things and the things that you've gotten into, but then for you to stand there and say, "Hey, this is the greatest high you'll ever experience."
Yes, sir. And just as the world chases for a new high, that's in my walk with the Lord, I chase that next high of really making the Lord proud, but also to fulfill what the Lord has given me to do today. You
Absolutely,
know,
absolutely. You know, I was thinking about you and I've come across a scripture and we've been using it, and I think it fits well for you. It's Ephesians 2:10, and we are the handiwork. We're the handiwork of God, made in the image of Christ to do good works.
right?
And then the end of that scripture is so cool because it says, "These works which have been prepared in advance for us to do." See, even in the midst, I truly believe this, God had a plan for this man. Even in the midst of his building his testimony, if you will,
Yeah,
and not even knowing that God even loved him or there was anything to it, the Lord had a plan of what he is doing today. This is not just a family restaurant. This is a ministry, man. The things that he does in the community that he won't tell you about,
hmm,
he just goes and does. He just goes and makes it happen.
that's right.
And the love of this guy that he has for people is something that was always a huge impact to me. And it's a genuineness, a genuineness. Uh, oh, what would you tell somebody that maybe they're in kind of where you were, and they just feel like there's something not right. You know, you make all this money on Friday and it's going on Monday,
Right.
but and that emptiness is still there. What would you tell somebody?
Uh, but honestly, what I would say is just feel today's purpose. So many times we get into a situation in life where you want a 5-year plan, where you have a ministry idea that's sketched out, and God will rearrange your plans real fast.
Yes, yes, he will.
I would have never ever in a million years dreamed of having a restaurant, but I just fulfilled my purpose each day, and um, I didn't worry about the 5-year plan.
Right.
I worry about my purpose today, and then let God lead me to tomorrow, and ultimately, it's got me here today.
You know, having said that, you know, I remember you telling me that you had a very close relationship with your pawpaw,
Yeah,
and your pawpaw had a
steakhouse,
Steakhouse. And I
and
think he had a sign that said, "Don't ask for ketchup. We ain't got it."
yeah,
So
yeah.
no ketchup on a steak.
Oh man,
How
him
did how
him
did
and my granny used to have the biggest throwdowns over a bottle of ketchup, and that man held strong 9 years
wow.
before he got ketchup on the table, and uh, and then on the menu too, it said if you want a well done steak, order a hamburger.
Well, let me ask you
uh,
this: how, you know, just in practicality, being around your papa, how do you think the Lord preparing you for those works? How did that
that
link up?
and Bubba, when you talked to me about the Make It Happen missions and all that, I uh, kind of went back to those roots, and
Mm,
God was preparing me even when I didn't know His name. Like I say, He was preparing me for today, even
yes,
way back then, and
absolutely.
so as a young guy, I bust tables and chop firewood, and my pa used mesquite wood on everything. So um, I got kicked out of school. My daddy said, "Boy, if you ain't got a job or a school to go to in the morning, then I'm kicking your rear."
Yeah,
Little different words, but
yeah. I knew your daddy.
so picked up the phone, called Paul, and he said, "I need firewood every day. Come get the old Chevrolet and hit the field." So that's what I did, and I cut and split firewood for years and years. And uh, so when my daddy got home that evening, he said, "All right, what'd you do?" And I said, "Well, I went to work for Paul." He just kind of said, "Come on, son, you don't ever go to work for your family, never." Well, 6 months later, he quits his job to go cut firewood for me and Paul. But my Paul's big deal had 90 seats in his restaurant. He would flip it 4 times, but there was always a table with 6 chairs open. Didn't matter how packed, how many people standing at the front door, that was the family table. And I've seen people dump tea in the floor, cuss out all the waitresses, just completely ugly because they've been standing there for an hour, but there's an empty table there. And my Paul didn't waver from none of it. That's the family's table. If the family shows up, they got a place to sit at my place.
Wow.
So just the little things that he instilled in that restaurant, I got to carry over into this restaurant. Now, once again, I would never ever dreamed to be in the restaurant business.
Mm,
I'm a carpenter by trade.
yes, and he can build
Uh,
anything. Let me tell you.
uh, Cabinetry and finish trim and all that's kind of my love
Yep.
for it. But um, now I'm in the restaurant 6 years deep. Uh, I couldn't never imagined, and God was preparing me all the way back as make it happen missions even started in North
Right.
Lufkin, right
Right.
there on the little basketball
Right.
playground.
Right.
I had a little 2 grate stove that I
I
had
remember
built,
that.
and we'd run that little ministry nine years
Yeah.
straight. Fed over 15,000 people. Um, I didn't know that was the seed being planted for this
Yeah.
establishment.
That's it. And now it's even greater, and you're able to have a bigger footprint.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things, and I think it's important, if you're a young person out there, this guy, not only a great cook, I'm telling you, buddy, you need a steak, this is the place to come. Great carpenter, loves people, but he was an athlete, a for real athlete. And if you would, you had some promise, some huge promise about moving into the collegiate and some decisions that were made and all of that just kind of disappeared.
Uh, Pretty much overnight, but I did play 2A football. Top honors in defense. Had my sophomore year, 178 solo tackles. Played for a little town, Banks, Texas, is where I played. Well, my junior year, All American 2A football player, both sides of the ball, fullback, middle linebacker. Had scholarships for Rice and a few smaller D1 schools. But a week before I finished my junior year, I decided to have a extra skip day, and I got kicked out of school that day. And in that one, taking that one day off cost me the rest of my 5 years. That one day off cost me 5 years of my future, ultimately. And all that changed real fast. I went to cutting firewood instead of uh, popping helmets with some other kid, and going and fulfilling a different purpose in my life. But um, that's also where the Lord taught me no days off.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things, and maybe you're a young person out there and you made some bad choices. You know, after that, there were some more bad choices to come.
Absolutely.
And but the Lord still has that plan. And if you'll just listen and you just trust him and you follow his plan, he's going to lead you. Sometimes our dream kind of finds us.
Right.
We don't find it. It finds us.
Right.
And so it's incredible what the Lord has done. And you know, his dad, I met his dad, and I met his dad after he became a Christian, but it was a long time coming. And um, if you could just share a little impact on how your family, where your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad, because of you being faithful and going to church, becoming, and then they see this transformation, not a change, the transformation, because they begin to see who Beau really was, who God put in
Absolutely.
him to be. He didn't change; he transformed into who God planned. Can you kind of shed a little light on
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. Probably one of the greatest honors in my ministry period, in my own life's ministry, is I was teaching the youth group, and in that message that night that I taught the youth group is the person sitting beside you going to hell. And as I'm teaching these kids, the Holy Spirit asked me about my parents and my family. Um, and it got down in my guts that day to where I couldn't hardly speak to the kids because God put a mandate on my life right then that uh, I was I was in the church, I was doing good, but my own family is going to hell, and that's not the gospel in any form or fashion. If you're going to allow somebody to go to hell, then you might as well get a backpack and go with them. But in saying that, 4 years 4 years later, my dad calls me at 5 a.m. And now my daddy was an old mechanic,
Tough award.
tough, and he had a tough old mouth too. So he calls me at 5 o'clock that morning, and he's just cussing this all get out 5 o'clock in the morning. But there was a sense of pride in him that I ain't never heard in his voice. And he said, "You know what happened last night?" I said, "No, Daddy. I thought he was gonna tell me some wild story, but he told me the greatest story of my life." He said, "I flipped on the TV last night when I rolled over in bed last night, and there was one of them preachers on the TV."
TV preachers. I know
Yeah,
what I can imagine what he said.
yeah, and he said, I went to change it, and the preacher said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't change the channel. If you grabbed your remote, this message is for you." So um, ultimately, my dad gave his heart to the Lord that night, and that 4 years later from the day God gut checked me on on teaching the youth or saving the youth. My father was saved. Um, Another 4 or 5 years passed before my dad had a stroke, got down, and when he got sick, my mama broke down.
Mm.
And we was at the hospital, and he had a second episode, if you will. He started doing really good, and then he just crashed, and they was worried about him pulling through, and so I take my mama to the hotel room so she can get cleaned up and go back to the hospital. And she just breaks down right there. And she said, "Son, we get to the, when we get back to the hospital, I need to go see the chaplain."
Mm.
So I said, "Mama, what you need to go see the chaplain for?" She said, "I want to get right with the Lord."
Oh, wow.
So we stood at the end of the bed right there in the hotel room, and I led my mama to the Lord right there. That was another bucket list check right there. It's phenomenal to get to lead both of my parents to the Lord and know their security and eternity is phenomenal. But not only to my parents, my little sister was in a huge abusive relationship. Um, I went to Arkansas to get her. She comes still a huge part of the church. Actually runs an outreach for singled and battered women now. Raised three phenomenal young men. I couldn't be prouder of Tabby than anybody else because she come from nothing and she's built it all on faith and hard work.
Yep.
Uh, so to see my family all come around and to be involved, but I think the greatest gift that I ever was humble enough not to preach at my family. I just loved them. I didn't preach. I
Absolutely.
didn't do nothing. I just loved them. They loved me, and ultimately, God opened that door for life changing. Instead of judgmental moments or conflict moments, He opened the door to just get it right one good time, Bubba.
You did a great job. You know, that's one of the things I remember you telling me about. Even during the midst of that, they there was times where I know he was being provoked. They were just going to test, see if Beau's going to be this Jesus guy or is
Oh
he going to
yeah,
be Beau. And he wasn't neither. He would just allow the Lord to be who God needed to be and just lived it in front of him. And I would encourage you to do that. Don't be the thumping them on the head. Just love them. Show the love of the Lord to them, man.
absolutely, Bubba. I've learned in life. You know, the first time you brag on yourself, when you turn around to walk off, you fixing to fall down, or when you pass judgment, that judgment's coming right back to you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I learned just to be humble, let the Lord love me, and then I can love somebody through Him.
Well, Beau, I tell you what, man, we appreciate you doing this.
Not a
I have such
problem.
a huge amount of respect for you. Uh, it's a trueness in what you see in him. It is an intentionality. It's a deliberate thing he does. So, Beau, thank you so very much. Thanks first of
Well,
all for just being my friend.
well,
I
thank you,
appreciate
Bubba.
you.
I
I mean,
appreciate you.
this guy, and hey, if you're ever around, well, you ain't got to be even close. Just one Saturday, jump in the car with you and your wife or your loved one. Bring them over here. It's family friendly. Some of the best food you're going to eat. I'm not going to say you're not going to gain maybe an ounce or two, but
Yeah,
it's money well spent. Let me tell you.
absolutely.
Um, he's a great carpenter. Loves to fish. So if anybody out there wants to fish and talk Jesus, here's your man right here. Here's your man right here. So remember, um, man, if you're out there and maybe something Beau has shared, and we firmly believe anytime we do any of these videos, we're very fortunate that we hear stories back from each one, some little something that somebody got something out of, and we're excited about that. Beau, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Remember,
Bubba.
yeah, and his lovely wife, Meredith, she's here working up a little storm. They got a family photograph on the wall over there, their kids and grandkids. It's a great place to be. There's a spirit of the Lord in Davy Crockett Grill in Crockett, Texas. So come on out, and when you get here, ask to speak to Beau and
Absolutely.
just say hello. He'd love to say hey, shake your hand, hug your neck. The pigskins and the jalapeno ranch dressing. You can drink it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, we're going to
Thank
tell
y'all.
everybody bye, and we're going to eat some of these things, and just keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right path. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.